Love show. I have been away for about a month, and so hopefully all of you have gotten the posts that we've been sending out reminding you that we are still doing our live show. And I thank you for your patience while I took a much needed vacation time. Um, so the last time I had my live show, I actually was announcing that I had just found out I was pregnant. And then not long after that, I had a miscarriage. And so it's it was very much an interesting month. Let's just put it that way. And I told Amnon that we kind of referred to it as Hell Month because it was really there was a lot of scary stuff. Like I ended up in the ER and ended up losing a lot of blood and was just really weak and had to go through the whole ER experience and which all of it I feel a sense of gratitude for the experience and I as always I'm always observing everything and just taking in what I need to from it. um, some of the stuff with the ER experience I felt was not really in alignment, and I'm actually going to be writing some letters to talk to people in high up places about that, about the healthcare system. Like for example, them giving me morphine, and I did not ask for it nor want it, and that took me about a week or two to get that out of my system, and it was really a very just like a it just felt like a really dark kind of drug to have in you. And I don't know any of you watching if you've dealt with having morphine, but for me it was really disturbing, and so I had to kind of clear that from my system. The nurse punctured my vein in my wrist, so she was trying to get my IV in, and she actually punctured it so it's still swollen and not really moving the way it used to, which I know my body will heal it and everything, but just some kind of weird stuff that we had to go through. And then I had to take an ambulance drive literally 4 miles from my house, and we get a bill for $1,000. So I was like, wow, that would have been better to get a cab to take us, or have Will take us. So a lot of stuff like that, where I just, really was observing, like, what are we really doing with this whole healthcare thing? Are we really helping people, or are we really just kind of taking advantage of their urgency, their emergency? And so I've got some stuff I'm going to be writing about that. But overall, I am healthy and I'm happy to be alive and to be doing well. And I was telling Amnon before the show, sometimes when we go through things that aren't fun and they're what I would say not awesome, it kind of helps us to really put things into a greater perspective. And like I always am saying on the show, I really practice what I speak, and I feel like I'm always, no matter what's happening, I'm looking for the gift, I'm looking for the blessing, the wisdom, the lesson in every experience. And in this experience, I really felt like, first of all, I had never gone through the experience of having a miscarriage. I never wanted to, but I never had gone through it. And so I've always had compassion for people in general. And I've had compassion for women who've gone through this and families, because it affects the husbands as well and the children. But I had never gone through it. And so once I went through it, I had even a deeper compassion for how much that person or that family is moving through grief and through loss. And for us, it was interesting because I had just found out, and it was amazing how sad I felt after, and I had to move through that process of grief. But then when I talked to the doctor, it kind of helped me feel normal when I chatted with her about what I was going through. And she was like, sweetie, your hormones have just dropped. Like, so when a woman's pregnant, their hormones start to, elevate very quickly. And then when you have a miscarriage, they just slam down and they drop. And so a lot of women will go through kind of like, they could have like like postpartum depression kind of feeling, even though they didn't go full term. It's the same experience. Their hormones suddenly drop and they can have depression and stuff like that. So for me, I feel like because I am a healer and I'm very aware and observant, it helped me. But I also had to go through that human experience, that human process, and just be really gentle with myself. And in the beginning, there was definitely my ego was trying to get me going, because that feeling of, being a healer and a yoga teacher and doing my show, and I can like help people and I feel empowered and I can be there for them and be their cheerleader. And then suddenly I'm like knocked on my back, and I felt kind of useless. Like there's nothing I can do for anybody in this state. I have to just put all my resources to healing myself. And I gave it maybe like a half a day, letting my ego mess with me and just telling me, oh, see, they don't need you, and look at what happened, and you're being punished, and all this crap that my ego wanted to tell me. And then I kind of had to move through that and just observe it and just be like, wow, this is insane and this is not true. And just let those thoughts move through and then come back to a place of self love. And so for me, it was like a really nice, it's kind of like I'm typically in such a high vibration. I feel like I just plummeted and dived into the depths of a lower vibration, but almost as if my soul strategically went there to experience that contrast and then to rise back out of it and have awareness of it. And sometimes, like I've said this before on the show, as a teacher, I might pull my back or something. I'm like, why did I hurt my back? And then I have a bunch of people coming in yoga and they have back issues. I'm like, gotcha. Thank you, Spirit. I'm aware of how much that, you know, gets in the way of their free flowing yoga, and I will be very gentle. I will be more aware and more compassionate, and then my back will heal. So I feel like sometimes, you know, higher source has its way of bringing us what we need, and sometimes we don't always understand it. And that's a big part of what I was going to talk about today is through my own process, and maybe some of you can relate to this, whether it's grief and we've lost a dream, something we were dreaming would happen. We are really good as humans. We get these plans, and plans are great. Having dreams is a beautiful thing. It's a healthy thing. I feel like our soul wants to have something that it looks forward to and that it strives towards. But at the same time, it's like this fine balance of having a dream and a vision, but walking with gentle awareness and wisdom and trust and faith when you really don't know how it's going to work out or what's going to really happen. So we all can have the hope of something better, the dream of something, but if it doesn't work out, we need to stay in that alignment with our source and know that we can adapt, we can adjust and move with the new plan. And I feel like from what I've observed, people that take the hardest hits in life, whether it's, you know, their wife leaves them, they lose a baby, they lose a job, they lose a sense of importance, a title, or some kind of role they've been playing that no longer is their role to play. What really causes us suffering is when we're so attached to that. We're attached to that expectation, we're attached to that dream, and we like grab onto this dream and it drags us through the sludge, and our own emotions can really take us over. But at the same time, we all have the opportunity to choose happiness no matter what. So no matter what happens, if we have the dream work out or if it doesn't, we can always choose to find happiness and to choose to be grateful. And I was telling Amnon, like when you're not feeling good, I told him, for me, it put a lot in perspective. And I see so many people in the world that they're not valuing their health. They're not valuing, you know, feeling good in their body. And they don't put that as a priority. And so they think money is more important, or wealth, well, wealth, money, fame, that guy that they need their attention from, that guy or that woman or whatever it is that we're saying we need that thing and then I can be happy. It's all an illusion. And you really get this perspective shift when you're not feeling good at all. And I mean, there was moments like when I'm in the ER or in the ambulance and I'm shaking, my body is just breaking down and it's like I'm out of control in my physical body. And I was still observing the whole movie of it, like, okay, isn't this interesting? Look what's happening. Like, we just got to surrender to this. But it's still like, it's very enlightening to look at that and realize in those moments, the most important thing is just being grateful, being happy with what you do have, and knowing that feeling good and having your body be in alignment and to feel its best is actually the highest priority. Because when you're not feeling good, it's really difficult to care about anything else. And so, like I was telling Amnon, like we put so much stress in our society on, you know, our wealth and becoming successful and all these things, and we do it at the cost of our health a lot of times. And really, it's not what's most important. What's most important, at least from my observation, my own experience, is really just a state of gratitude. And it's the simple things. It's just feeling grateful to be alive and to have your body working properly. For me, like going through that experience, my hormones are crashing and my digestive system's all off and I couldn't eat hardly anything. And I just felt terrible, and I felt so tired and weak, and I didn't have energy to have any drama with people. I just could sleep and rest and listen. And then I told Amnon, part of the cool thing that I feel came from this too, if you can find a cool thing, is that I actually had time where I was in such a contemplative mode, that I was in such deep listening. I was not in the world at all. And I was writing like crazy. I was writing a lot for the book that I'm working on. So I was really, tuning in and channeling a lot of wisdom from source. And that was good. It was like, okay, we're just going to focus here. Like, we can contribute in this way. We can do this. Um, but we can't be out there right now helping people. We can't really give any energy to others, because we have to put all of our energy here to healing ourselves. And I feel like that's something really important that we need to see, is when we need to balance, are we over giving, or are we just accustomed to giving? Some of us are, we're givers by nature, and we're really not comfortable with receiving. And sometimes things will come along to help humble us, so that we can open ourselves to receive. We can let others help us. And, at the same time, some of us might be takers. We might be taking advantage, and then source will bring opportunities to help us be in a position to give more. So I feel like a lot of what I learned from this experience was connected with just balance, like our divine feminine masculine balance of, there's a time that we're to give and we're to do in the world and be active and, participate and be, functional, and we're productive. And then there's times where that isn't the priority. The priority is just going inward, and the priority is being more reflective and more in a state of listening, where we're receiving from higher source instead of busy. And so for me, I just kind of took it all in stride and dealt with what I needed to deal with as it came along. And William was amazing. My beloved took excellent care of me, and honestly, I've never been taken care of or loved like he has loved me. And I've been in past relationships where I know those people were doing their best with what they understood and what they could give. But he really went above and beyond, and just was so tuned in and held it together, and never complained, and going to the doctor, going to get me stuff, whatever I needed, trying to help with whatever I could eat. And so I love him so much, and he really came through for me. And then I also learned some things, and I think sometimes some of us go through stuff where, when things are not working out amazingly and you're a giver, a lot of people are used to you being there and giving to them. And it can be very enlightening to see who are the people that show up for you when you're in need. And are there many? And it was really enlightening for me to observe that, and not to judge it, just to observe. And there was some people that were actually really kind of hateful, that were in my family, and how they responded. And I just had to really cut some cords at that point and just wish them well. But I just realized, like, this is kind of a blessing. This is coming along to show me the people that really do care about my well-being and care about me. And I'm going to pay attention right now. And so I say that to all of you watching, because, it's important that you're paying attention. It's important that you're aware of what's going on in your life, and that you're in a place where you're moving in greater and greater self-love. And sometimes big changes can come along just to kind of open our eyes even more clearly to what's best for us. And it can bring in, destruction can come in and like sweep things away. But it's at the same time, it's creating space for something that's more appropriate for us. So I feel like for me, I did grieve and release the dream of this intention to have a physical child come in. But at the same time, I felt like when I got to that place of acceptance, it was okay. And I was not really deeply sad anymore. I had to feel the sadness though, and I allowed myself to. And so I feel like any of you that are listening, if you've gone through things of loss, don't resist the feelings that you need to embrace. Don't resist, pulling away from the world. The world and its busyness is not the priority at those times. And I feel like sometimes we don't honor that. We lose someone in our life that meant a lot to us, and then we just go back to work and we work like workaholics so that we can numb the pain, or we start drinking, or we start taking drugs, or, we start overeating or whatever the thing is we're doing, over exercising, it's whatever we do that kind of creates a numbness, that's worth paying attention to. Because really, if we just allow whatever is coming up to be felt, we'll move through it so much more gracefully. And that being said, I wanted to read a card that I drew called Faith in the Process. But before that, I will pause to see if anybody has any comments or questions. And just to remind you guys, if any of you want to call in, you can call in if you have a question or you want to just share something that you're relating to what I'm sharing today to 919-518-9773. So, Amnon, is there anybody with any questions?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. So if anybody wants to call in or write in, just go for it now. So this card is called Faith in the Process. I'll show you there's the picture. It's like a woman and she's in like a wagon and it's got the word faith painted on it. So this card says, no matter how powerful we are, no matter how much courage and strength we have, there are times when we can't quite move ourselves along to the next phase of life or creative exploration. At such times, we need some divine intervention, a little help in pulling our trolley along, so to speak. When we are at the edge of our own limits and have no more personal resources, we might be left with only one spiritual power, and that is faith. Fortunately, that is enough. As unlikely as it may seem, the invisible help from the universe is often more powerful than the physical efforts of 1,000 men. That is because the invisible help is not limited by physical laws. It can shift, bend, and move in ways that defy limitation. It can affect, evoke, and influence situations through invisible but undeniably persuasive means. You may be in a situation at this time where you cannot set right the course of events all by yourself. This is not an indication that you have done something wrong, nor does this suggest, nor does this suggest that you are not strong enough. It is a sign that there is something bigger unfolding in your life, and your willpower will be supported by the power of life itself. And I think it's good to, and I'll do a little comment on that. I think it's good to realize, like, when things aren't going our way, our vision isn't matching up with what our highest dream and hope was, to remember that you're not being punished and that you didn't do anything wrong. And I definitely, like I said, my ego played with me for a few hours. I allowed it to. And then I was just like, shut up. Like, you are so not helping. And luckily, I've been working on this throughout my life to where I catch it. And that's all it is. If any of you are having it, a struggle where your ego takes you on a ride daily, all that's necessary is your awareness. You need to be present. You need to be aware of those thoughts when they come in. And if they're destructive, if they're not empowering, if they're not loving, you need to not give them any fuel. Just let them go. Let them move through you. Allow them. And then come back into that space where you know that you're one with your source and that you're absolutely worthy and you're being supported. And sometimes that can be a challenge to remember when it seems like everything's being pulled away from us, or something that we really wanted to happen is just falling apart. We might think that we're being punished or the world's against us. And I feel like that is what we have to catch in ourselves, because that's where the pain and the suffering comes from. And that in truth, when things are falling apart, it can also be an incredible blessing that there's something better or a different way that we could build that dream. Maybe a more powerful foundation is coming and we don't even see it yet. And so we need to remember to trust that the bigger picture of the universe, the big energy, absolutely is supporting us and loves us. And we need to love us, because that's where we're going to get in trouble, is if we turn on ourselves because something didn't work out the way we thought it should. And that's what I feel like is what fuels the ego in the deepest places, is that we as humans, we kind of want to control life. We want to control how that career works out. We got the business plan, our ducks are in a row. We want to control that relationship, and we're not in charge. And this is something that I feel like in my journey, I've become very incredibly humble. And at the same time, I know I'm very incredibly powerful. It's like that, walking that fine line of the yin yang balance, where you own your power, you know you're one with source, you can move with confidence, but you also know that you're not in charge, and that no matter what, you're just going to keep trusting that life has got your back, that it's like you're riding a wave and you don't always know exactly where that wave's taking you. You have a goal and an intention, but you want to let go and trust that the universal forces are assisting you. And I feel like the more we surrender to that powerful flow, the more we are going to gracefully arrive at the various places that spirit has in mind for us that are going to bring us what we really need. And that's when life can be fun. Like life can be playful. It doesn't have to be heavy and rigid and robotic. But sometimes our minds are so in a state of fear that they're going to lose control in some way. They're going to look silly in some way. They're not going to be perfect. And your ego can totally mess with you and mess with your relationships. So just something to point out there. Sometimes a bigger plan needs to manifest for the benefit of humanity and the earth. You need to shift your perspective to realize that you are a part of the greater unfoldment of life, and that your individual life serves the greater plan, and that you are not separate from its genius. This is what is happening now. You happen to be instrumental to the greater plan, and as such, you need to accept your position and be moved, while also being empowered and protected as you make personal progress through your role in the grander scheme. And I like that how it says, accept your position and to be moved. And that doesn't mean you're going to make things happen. It means you're going to move and allow life to move you. There's times like I have a goal where I've shared on this show, and with my students that come to my home and come to classes, they see my giant vision board, all these pictures of Hawaii. I clearly have an intention that I would love to end up in Hawaii. Now, at the same time, that is my heart's desire. And often when I have a heart's desire, spirit will assist me in manifesting that. And it all works out. But at the same time, if that is not for the highest and best for me, I will accept that. And so it's like we're not afraid to cast our net out and see what we catch. But we also trust that spirit's going to fill that net with what we need. Instead of thinking, if I don't get what I asked for, then I'm going to be angry and I'm going to never be happy again. I'm going to be depressed and angry at people. And truly, we can be happy every moment. We can choose happiness. We can choose gratitude and acceptance. And at the same time, keep casting our nets wide to catch more and more of what we like without feeling like that is the end all. Like if we don't get that, then we can't be happy people. I feel like that's where we get in trouble. So it's like, yes, cast your net, dream, have expanded vision, but at the same time, stay humble and trust that spirit knows how to move you and will indeed and is moving you where you need to be. And you just have to be intuitive enough to tune in to the movement, to feel it. Like I kind of was joking with Will, and if any of you have seen the movie Finding Nemo, how the Crush, the turtle, sea turtle, he gets into that big channel. There's like a current that moves through the ocean that really exists that will move these tortoises and sea turtles fast through the ocean. It's like the super freeway in the ocean. Now, if you're not in that current, you're paddling and it's going to take a long time to get from point A to point B. But if you get into that current and you let the current move you, you're going to get there much more quickly. And I like to see that same reference in life with working with spirit. If you have a goal, trust that what you want, what you desire also wants you. Trust that if higher source gave you that inspiration and that feeling that you'd like to arrive somewhere or to have a dream, higher source has a way to give it to you. But sometimes we need to find those currents or those energy vortex, places where we can just be moved and carried. And we need to look for them and discern them. Or we can do the opposite. We could go in our own way and not be open and receptive to being moved. And we will paddle around in the ocean. And it might take us a lot longer to arrive to our destination, but that's also an option. It's like not anything that spirit's going to be upset about. It's more, do you want to be a more efficient creator? And if you do, I encourage you to be humble and surrender to the higher forces of the universe and trust that even if it looks like you're falling or failing, that doesn't mean it's true. Sometimes people throughout history, people have been so close to success and they've almost wanted to give up. And then boom, an opportunity, a door opens, and then everything they were waiting for manifests. So it's really about being patient and having faith that everything that you love and that you would like to manifest is also coming to find you, and just letting it all happen. You don't have to freak out. We don't have to be up all night, not sleeping because we're stressing about a job interview or how we're going to get this situation to work out. It's really just tuning into higher source and thanking the universe for the solution, thanking whether you want to call it your spirit team, your angels, the universe, the eternal light, whatever you resonate with, doesn't really matter what you call it, but it's knowing that you're a part of something bigger than yourself, knowing that you are not the one in charge of the universe. Like you're definitely a powerful force in the universe, and you're definitely a loved being in the universe, but when you can let go and be humble and allow the universe to lift you and move you, you're going to reach some amazing places that you wouldn't have ever been able to reach on your own. So there we go. I went off on a little tangent, but I feel like it was all related. So is there anybody writing in or anything, Amnon?
No, but just kind of walk back slowly from on that tangent. Don't fall off of it.
Oh, I won't. Okay, I'm pretty good at that. I like to jump over and then bounce back over here. Okay, so back to this card. It says, this is a time for great humility and trust. You need complete faith in the process and events that are happening for you. There is nothing to worry about. You will be moved most fully and easily and with the most grace and assistance through your faithful surrender. And again, we have to let go. There's that saying, let go and let God. If whatever you relate to, but it's really letting go and trusting the universe has a bigger plan for you. And if you let go and you can allow the movement, you'll be amazed of where spirit will move you. But some of us, we can get really rigid in our belief systems, our ideas, like it's got to happen this way. I refuse to accept help unless it comes in this form or from this nationality or this sex. We need to really check in with that in ourselves, because a lot of us are creating unnecessary problems and obstacles, and we're slowing down our own evolution because we're rigid in our ideas, we're rigid in our belief systems. So surrender, faithfully to surrender and trust is the solution here. Ironically, it is through complete surrender in total faith that we have become the most empowered. When we are no longer trying to impede the perfection of the greater plan, we can be aligned with and moved by the process. And think about that. How many times have we thought we have a better idea of what the perfect plan should be, and we need to get the world to go in our way, and the universe really should listen to us? And so it's really kind of letting that all go. And yes, you can have your opinions, your observations, your preferences, but at the same time, you're trusting there's a greater plan and you're moving with it. You're working with it cooperatively instead of always in resistance and, anger and tension. When we are no longer trying to impede the perfection of the greater plan, we can be aligned with and moved by the process, having faith in the benevolence of life rather than harboring the suspicion that life is seeking to catch us out, have a joke at our expense, or carelessly toss us about as though we mean nothing. Then we can relax a little. And it's funny because I've met, just recently I went on a trip to visit family. I was telling Amnon, my grandparents are 90 and they're in amazing health and shape, for being 90 years old. And they're the sweetest couple. And when I went back there, some of the family members, I'm chatting and I just observed my family. And one of my family members who I love deeply, he was really upset and concerned that he had had a voodoo spell put on him or something. And I was like, what? And he basically had a relationship with a woman and it didn't work out. And some things went really not in a beautiful direction. She ended up taking her own life. And we were just discussing this. And he was like, I really feel like I lost my luck. Like I used to be lucky. And I was like, that's interesting that you would think you would lose your luck. Like, why is that? So he's talking about this relationship. And from my observation, I was like, I feel like you haven't lost your luck, but there might be some healing work that you need to work on with this human. You might need to forgive her or forgive yourself for maybe you feel like you let her down and you don't want to own up to that, but you need to forgive yourself. You need to cut that cord and you need to, cut yourself some slack, basically. But it's interesting to me to observe how people will quickly, the egoic mind will take us in these places of superstition and fear, and we'll suddenly, we've got some person put voodoo on us and we're just sure of it. Or we didn't have integrity in some situation, and so now we've lost our luck and the world's going to punish us. And we need to watch that, because I do believe there's a law of cause and effect. Science has shown that what you put out is going to come back. But I don't feel like we need to sit back and think we're going to be punished because of something we did. We can put out love and light to any situation, and we can have awareness that, wow, I really withheld love there. I really could have given more love there. I could have been more helpful there. I could have had more integrity there. And that's really what's necessary for your soul's evolution. Your soul really is like this pure state of energy that just is moving through the cosmos, and you have this human body that's helping it with that. But we can start to actually contaminate our own soul with our own thoughts, our own belief systems, our own life experiences, where we feel that we're bad, evil people, or maybe we went places where we were told we were bad, evil people. I feel like we're, as a collective, we are healing so much superstition and taboo belief system that stemmed from religion and stemmed from, different belief systems of race and sexuality and, all these different things that people in different times of society have their very rigid opinions about. And then they change, and then they get new rigid opinions. But what would be really empowering is if we just start to observe that, and we don't need to buy into it. Never think, and I mean, and you can, by all means, if you want to think that the universe is against you, if you want to think that God is going to punish you, by all means, you have the free will to think that. But I feel in my soul that that is exactly what is going to taint and contaminate your soul. If we start to realize that we are never the enemy of source. We are one. Like Christ was like, I am the child of the light. I am the child of God. And each of you are children of that light as well. If you can just cut yourself some slack and love yourselves, and even if you've stumbled, if you've made choices that weren't perfect, it's not about being perfect. It's really about how aware we are as we're making choices and how those choices affect us. And do we learn from them? Do we keep repeating them and learn nothing? Or do we learn from them and then we move forward? It's really about that. And I feel like the more loving we are, the more we actually assist with our own mind, body, soul alignment. The more we judge and shame ourselves, that is actually the most damaging part that causes a soul to lose its alignment. And then as they keep that misalignment, they do more and more destructive things. This is when people, oh, I did a bad thing. I had an abortion, and so now I'm going to become a heroin addict. Like, what? But that is how it works. People feel bad and guilty and shameful for a choice, and now they're going to punish themselves. Maybe subconsciously, they unconsciously are doing it. They're taking alcohol, drugs, and the next thing they're going really downward spiral. But this is where we can really break that pattern collectively, is if we just stop believing that we're bad people, that we're sinners, that we were born bad. That is such a lie. We are not. But we have to actually have the consciousness to realize the program and to not participate in that program. And that just totally came through me because I did not intend to say that. So anyway, back to my card. So is there any questions or comments? Somebody's got a question. Come on. I know you missed asking Tawnya questions, so bring me a question, somebody. Be brave. Anybody? No? Okay. Amnon, are you there? Are you sleeping? I'm like, where's Amnon? I really think he may be sleeping. Okay, so this last part of the card, you will need faith. The faith as though the wheels of your trolley are coming off or that they are a bit rickety, but you must also understand that the voice of life is now coming straight to your heart with this message. This is the message, this is like a message from source to each of you. So I encourage you to really listen to this and affirm it if you resonate. I'll read it twice. And if you want to write it down, by all means. I have resources you know not of. It is safe to trust in my ways and in my wisdom, for I love you and I am guiding you into all that is rightfully yours. Know that what is rightfully yours is what your heart truly desires, and you need not fear loss. Nothing that is meant to come to you will be denied, and it is safe for you to let go and allow me to move you. And I love that. That is like coming straight from source. If you can just allow yourself to receive that and to trust that everything you really want is coming to you, nothing's going to be withheld or denied from you that's for you. you can let go and trust. So I'm going to read that one more time. I have the resources you know not of. It is safe to trust in my ways and in my wisdom, for I love you and I am guiding you into all that is rightfully yours. Know that what is rightfully yours is what your heart truly desires, and you need not fear loss. Nothing that is meant to come to you will be denied, and it is safer for you to let go and allow me to move you. Through faith, peace is restored, and you are able to know this, and perhaps you can even have some fun with the process. So, and there's another little affirmation here that this is the part that you can think aloud or say out loud as I'm reading it. If you want to say it out loud, set the intention, so to speak, because intention is where there's a lot of power in our conviction of we are going to intend something and we're stating it to the universe. So the intention is, I now ask that all disappointing experiences of the past that have led me to believe that life is not trustworthy or that faith is a silly or immature way to deal with life be fully released from my mind, body, and heart. I ask for help to accept that I can and will attract all that is needed into my life at the divine perfect time and in the divine perfect way. I ask to be empowered to absolutely receive all that can assist me with gratitude and without shame or guilt. In doing so, I now dedicate myself to be a clear, loving, open channel for the flow of life. I know the benefit in doing so is not limited to me, but will flow so that life can benefit others through me. I trust in this now through unconditional love, so be it. So that's that card. Any comments on that?
Well, there are there's a comment from Cindy.
Oh, yay. From
She
Cindy?
says, yep. She said, I really needed the message to have faith. Thank you.
Yay.
I so missed seeing you on Sunday nights, but I'm happy you
Aw.
took time for yourself.
Thank you, Cindy. And I really missed being with all of you too. So thank you for joining me again tonight and for your love and healing light and support you were sending when you knew I wasn't doing my most awesome. So thank you. Yes, I'm glad that that message connected and that she received what she needed from source, because that's the way it works. And it's really all about faith. It's about living with that faith and surrendering, because we sometimes we get these ideas of what the vision should look like. We have these lists and we write it down in our journal of what our ideal partner is going to look like and what they're going to dress like and what kind of career they're going to have, and we can get ourselves in trouble with lists. I think it's good and fun to put out an intention and to put out kind of like, I would like this, but thank you for taking care of the details. And I'll say, thank you for delivering this or something better to me. And then I let it go. And I feel like it's really the letting go part that's the magic, because when I see people struggling, they might have this list of stuff, but it's like they're holding on to it. Like they can't let it go. And that's a big part of it, is we got to send the letter out to the universe and then trust that what is really for our best will come back to us. But we need to stay open, because I feel my spirit team anyway has a sense of humor. I feel like Source God has a sense of humor. And this is why we love laughter, why many of us love comedy. We like humor because it's a big part of the healthy part of life. And so if we're putting out something and it comes in a way we didn't expect, that's something to watch for, because that spirit, I feel, sometimes is just testing our own awareness. Like, hey, is she going to catch this if I send it in this package? Is she going to receive this if it comes from this person? Or is that person not worthy? And is that going to help that person see where they have belief systems, where they have rigid ideas in their own mind, where they have prejudice, where they have racism, where they have, a lot of misaligned judgments? I was reading a book recently, and it's a great book if any of you want to read it, by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's The Fifth Agreement, because he wrote the Four Agreements. And is that right? Yeah, I think it was The Fifth Agreement. But in the book, he talks a lot about the knowledge in us, and that part of the Fifth Agreement is that we can change our mind and that we can question things. And I think that's really important, because we might have something we decided felt good today, and then in a week when we have more wisdom and more understanding, it may not feel so good anymore. And we might want to change the course of our direction. Now, a lot of people I observe judge that and think that's being flaky, you're fickle, you're not committed. But it's not that. If you're truly living from a state of awareness, that is wisdom. That's why some souls evolve incredibly quickly and others evolve incredibly slowly, is because some have a belief system that, like, I'll just use a simple one. Like, let's say you get married and you have to stay married forever. And that is a belief system that a lot of us hold on to. We really believe that. And so even if we get a divorce, we might still have that belief system saying that we need to be married forever, or we're sinners and we're going to go to hell. And then we start to think we're not lucky, we have bad luck. Do you see the spiral? So we start getting this expectation that something bad's going to happen to punish us because we didn't live up to the vision that we gave to the universe of our own creation. And so if we can stop with all that sinner stuff and all the punishment and just love ourselves, and we can question anything at any time. If something doesn't feel right at some point, absolutely question it. If something is not really resonating with you and someone's telling you a way to think, question it. That is what is your divine birthright to do, is to question things. And that is exactly why you are going to evolve, because you're questioning. If you don't, and you feel like, I can't ever challenge someone, I can't ever state my opinion to someone because they'll shame me and I don't want them not to like me. I see far too many of you guys doing this. Far too many humans live this way. In our yoga class the other night, we were sitting there talking, and every single person in the yoga class was in the same vibration. They're all relating to the wisdom that came through from spirit. But it basically was very simple, that if you want to be happy and you don't want drama in your life, the most important aspects of your life, it's not your bank account, it's not what house you live in, it's not who you're married to or who you're dating or what position you hold at the company. What it comes down to is, are you being authentic? Are you living with integrity? And are you being true to yourself? Are you being true to your own higher self, your own heart's knowing? So when we're not doing those things, no matter what our life situation is, we're suffering. And we have an absolute choice today to stop suffering. So if we're not being authentic, if we're not living with integrity, and we're not being true to ourselves, we're going to start creating drama and suffering. It's not going to take long. We could live in a trailer park, or we could live in a freaking mansion and not be living with integrity, not having authenticity, and not being true to self, and we are suffering. It doesn't matter if we have no money or tons of money. It doesn't matter if we're Black, Asian, white, Cuban. It doesn't matter what our nationality is, if we're gay, straight, or bisexual. Basically, none of the package, none of the costumes you're wearing, and none of the sets in your movie that you're playing in are the most important thing to your happiness. It really comes down to those simple aspects of life. Are you being authentic? Are you living with integrity? Are you being true to yourself? And that's what Spirit brought through. And everyone in that class was just like quiet at the end, like, oh shit. Like, that is exactly what we needed to know and remember, because it's really important. And like I was telling the class, there is so many times that I don't feel humans when I'm around humans that are not really in their alignment, and I'm challenging them. Like, let's say I'm around a bunch of my family and they're being really controlling and hateful and judgmental, and I might be sitting there observing it, and then someone asks me, Tawnya, is something bothering you? Well, nothing's really bothering me, but what I'm observing is that you seem pretty judgmental and hateful, and that person who's not here is being slammed, and I don't really think that's the solution to healing. Maybe you could call that person and talk to them. And then next thing, that person wants nothing to do with me. I'm not welcome to the family dinners anymore. So part of being true to yourself, part of being authentic, part of living with integrity, it is challenging and risky. And that's why a lot of us don't do it. A lot of us, and I spent a lot of my life in that prison of being a pleaser. The pleaser prison, that we should have like a name for that. Do you belong to the pleaser prison? But I did. I lived in that land of people pleasing for a long time. And yes, I had a lot more humans attached to me. I had a lot more people that wanted stuff from me, and it appeared that I had a lot of friends and a lot of stuff around me, but it was exhausting and draining, and nothing was freaking authentic. And it was painful, and I felt like I suffered daily in that land. But a day came where I chose, and this is every one of you as a soul is going to choose, and it's going to heal your soul. It will heal you at a soul level if you allow it to. Because part of what is causing our soul to feel contaminated and heavy and burdened, that then will start to come into the physical body and cause sickness and disease, is living this way. When we're not really being true to ourselves, when we're not really owning what our visions are and what makes the most importance to us, when we're not standing our ground for what really matters, when we're not speaking our truth for what we really feel, that stuff starts to contaminate you. And it's a very slow sickness that slowly takes you down, but it's powerful. And so the the counter, that what's it called, like when you take you get like bit by a snake and then you need to get the, you know what I'm talking about, Amnon? Like there's like a medicine that will heal you. Anyway, it'll come to me. But it's like that medicine that's there for you to heal that is that you need to start being authentic, speaking your truth, and living with integrity. Now, like I said, there's a risk because there's going to be times that there's people that I know that love me for that. And they're like, man, Tawnya will just tell you what she thinks. Like that girl knows herself. I've had people write me that I don't even know on Facebook just saying, I just love the way you know yourself. I love the way you just speak your truth and you love fully. And then there's people that I have been birthed into a family with that can't stand me for the very same reason. So part of life is that if we want to be happy and we want to be healthy, we don't need the approval or the disapproval. That doesn't move us. So if someone's hating me today and another one's loving me, neither of those energies should move me. They can just be their own energies, that they're just reflecting aspects that they feel about me that has really nothing to do with me. But do you see how many of us get enslaved because we want the people to like us? We want them to approve of us. We want 1 million likes. We want our video to be seen 1 million times. We want to have Ellen DeGeneres talk to us. We want Justin Timberlake to hang out with us. I mean, we want these things because we think if we have those things, then we're going to be somebody, we'll have arrived. But big picture, whether I ever meet those people or whether 10 people see this video or 1 million people see this video, I know I'm happy because I'm being authentic and I'm having integrity and I'm being true to myself. Now, I could end up getting millions of people that love me and adore me. We see this with celebrities all the time, and I could have them loving me, telling me all these amazing things, totally treating me like a princess. And then suddenly they change their mind and they're going to go somewhere else. Do you think that girl's going to suffer? Hell yes, she will, because she built her whole identity around what they think of her. And same with someone who, if they think low of themselves and people tell them terrible things about themselves all the time and they think that matters more, they suffer. So really the external stimulation, the external world of people's opinions should not be the recipe for your happiness if you're on a path of health. If you're on an unhealthy path that is going to lead you to the people pleasing prison, by all means stay on that path where you really care about what everyone thinks. And it doesn't, and I feel like, because you guys have watched this show, I've been doing the show for 2 years, I speak my truth, it's my observation. There's going to be people that agree with me on things, there's going to be people that don't. That's just the nature of things. There is a multitude of ways to see situations. There's a multitude of ways to understand situations, and each of us are processing it at our own way, in our own way, at our own level of consciousness, in our own time. And so just because someone doesn't understand where I'm at today doesn't mean I'm not where I need to be or that something's wrong. And same with any of you listening. If some of your family members can't see you and they can't appreciate you where you are, if you're at a job where your coworkers can't see you, they can't appreciate you, they can't honor you, that isn't about you, but that is a nudge to be moved. That is the universe showing you clearly what's in your face. And now do you choose to just stay there and settle? And in our yoga class, that's what kind of came up was, how often in our life are we settling? Are we just tolerating and settling for something? And how often are we actually moving ourselves, even though it's uncomfortable and scary? Because if I know, okay, here I get no respect in this relationship, shit, and I'm gonna have to pack all my stuff, I'm gonna have to start all over. Yes, do it. Because it's gonna be better because you're not staying somewhere where you know it's not working. You don't wanna settle. If you're in a job, same thing. If it's not, bringing you the love and the honor you desire and you know your worth, keep moving. Let life keep moving you. Because when you do, there's going to be more and more opportunities for growth for you. And there's going to be more and more situations that can come in that can bring you exactly what you want. But at the same time, don't be attached to those, because as soon as you get too settled and too attached, that's when you can actually have drama come again. So it's like, really, like I said, you're like moving with this discernment in this middle way where you have your vision, you have your hopes and dreams and desires, but you also trust that source, God, the creation of all that is, the universal energies that support and love everything, hold the planets in orbit. There's so much being handled. Why do we need to worry about it? We're being handled. So let's let go and kind of flow and let life move us where we need to, and stop being afraid. I think that the biggest thing that keeps us stuck, keeps us settling, is that we're afraid of change. We're afraid of the new. We're afraid of what will come next. Hopefully, something awesome's coming, but we won't ever know if we stay somewhere and we're settling. We won't ever know what true love could feel like if we stay with someone who's abusive. We won't ever know what it feels like to work in an environment where we're deeply loved and cherished for our gifts if we stay working in environments where we're not even treated like we are existing, where we're invisible, where we're shamed, where we're competed with. And these are things that really will cause you to question every aspect of your life. But living with integrity, being authentic, being authentic, living with integrity, and what was the other one I said? Being true to yourself, like loving yourself. It's the most important thing. And if you're doing those, you cannot settle. But if you're people pleasing, you're not doing those. So it's kind of really easy to catch. If I'm people pleasing, I'm not being true to myself, I'm biting my tongue, I'm not telling dad how I really feel. If I'm biting my tongue, I'm not really telling this boss how I really feel. If I'm, sidestepping situations, I'm gossiping about the girl that I have issues with instead of talking to her directly. This is where we got to stop all the drama, because if we really want health and solution, we go right to the source. We go communicate. We speak our truth. We have integrity. We're authentic and we're true to ourselves. And then we accept what comes of that. Maybe they let you go. Maybe that person doesn't want to date you anymore because you won't be their doormat. Awesome. Let it go. Because I promise you, as you have more love for yourself and you have that integrity and you start to get better and better at being excited about life, living in the mystery of life, it's going to be more and more magical than when you're clinging and attaching. Okay, so is there any questions coming in? Any last comments? An hour went by. I haven't spoken on the show for over a month, and whew, I'm back on the saddle. Anything, Amnon?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I put the volume up. I didn't.
Oh, it's okay.
No,
Were
I
you
said no.
talking to
There
me
are
and you're
no
like, why isn't
questions.
she listening? What did you say?
I said no. There are no questions. Wait a
Okay.
second. Pegasus says,
Oh, there we go.
I missed 20 minutes of the show because of cell phone reception. But our being in spirit inherently more powerful than in their vibrational frequency.
Okay, what was did
Than
he ask a question?
being that I don't wait a second. Our being in spirit inherently more powerful than in their vibrational frequency than being who are incarnated. I don't understand what he wrote.
So I'm thinking he's saying like our spiritual beings, like if they're just vibrational energy more powerful than a spiritual being that's incarnated in a human form is what I'm getting.
Okay.
And I would say from that, I don't really think it's like a more powerful thing. I would say that when we're in our human form, I do think there's kind of a heaviness we enter just to come into this form and into this realm. It's like a more dense experience. So there's going to be some adjustment where that soul if it's a pure soul, It's going to have to come into that body, and it's going to have to adjust and kind of settle into this dense reality. So in that sense, when that soul's in purity with spirit and it's not in a body, it's more closely connected to source, let's say, than when it's in a physical form where it's feeling like amnesia. I forgot that I'm one with source. And so there can be this time and adjustment where we're kind of wandering around and we forget ourselves. We forget our oneness, our divinity. So I don't know if that answers this question, but that's what came through me. So I'm just
Yeah,
going
well,
to...
he's saying that you got it.
Okay, yay. Because that's kind of what I was feeling. On that note, before we sign off, because we've got a couple more minutes, I am doing a women's retreat. It's a goddess empowering, I cannot talk. It is like an empowering empath, but it's an embodying of the goddess transformational retreat in Cannon Beach. And it's September 16th through the 18th, which is just a couple weeks from now. I have a couple spots left that I would love to fill for 2 amazing women, and you know who you are. So I want to put that out there. If any of you want to contact me, you can go to my email, which is tanyaangel@gmail.com, TAWNYA, angel@gmail.com, and contact me if you want information. I can forward it to you. You can also go to my blog, tanyaangel555.com, and just send me a message. But I encourage you to just go directly to my email, because I don't always get the notifications on the blog, and sometimes I don't see them for a while, and I don't know why, but I just don't. So if you're on Facebook, find me under Tawnya Love and contact me directly. But I would love to sell this event out, and I just have 2 spots left. It's going to be 3 days. We're going to have a fire ceremony under the full moon. We're going to play this amazing psychic spiritual game called Illumination together. We're going to be making vision boards. I have some surprise gifts that I'm going to give to all the goddesses that attend. We're going to have fabulous meals, and we'll be practicing yoga and meditation and having healing circles and some energy healing exchange. So it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be amazing, life-changing weekend. And if any of you feel like, man, that is what I need, that's what my soul needs, I encourage you for the first thing to not just say, oh, I can't afford it, or oh, I don't have time, or oh, my husband won't let me. But if you know you need it, to really meditate and thank Source for bringing you the resources, bringing you the time, the money, whatever's needed, and make a commitment to coming to take that time for yourself, because retreats like this can totally change a life around. And if we really give ourselves the time and space to connect with other sisters and to really connect with our soul and really focus on what matters, it could totally move your life in a new direction. And so the expense of it, it's $888 for 3 days. But if you're going to go rent a beach house for 3 days, you're going to pay that much money just for that. So I rented this beautiful condo. We're going to have everything's handled. I do encourage you guys, if you're coming, to bring some spending cash, because we want to go out a couple of nights for dinner. But it's going to be amazing. We'll be hiking on the beach and just connecting, and it's going to be awesome. So if any of you are interested, contact me right away so that I can get you the information and we can get you set up, because I would love to have a couple more women join us. So that's my intention. Angels, take care of the details. So that's me letting it go. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. And I will be back next week live at 5 p.m. So join me then. And thank you for your patience, your prayers, and for your consistency. And if any of you would like to work with me as a healer or a mentor, contact me, and I would love to help and assist you in energetic adjustments so that you can really live your fullest, highest potential. So thank you so much, guys. Mwah! Namaste.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo, The Tawnya Love Show, Health Then with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson, Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.